Josephine and Mathieu, good evening. Thank you for being here. I think you're back from something you call the ticket tour. So can you tell us a little more about it?
The ticket tour is a unique and exceptional Tour de France that we organized with 50 social entrepreneurs to help them to go from a beginning of idea of their project of social business to a prototype. So during 10 days, we are traveling in France to discover lots of mentors and experts to help those social entrepreneurs to accelerate their project.
Sur le Ticket Tour, on est 58 entrepreneurs, 50 projets. On vient des 4 coins de la France et on va de 23 ans à 58 ans. C'est 4 villes, 2 bus, plus de 100 mentors qui nous ont donné chacun un feedback.
Quand je suis arrivé, mon projet était vraiment à l'état de concept, d'idée. Et maintenant, j'ai un modèle économique qui tient la route, qu'il faudra que j'approfondisse. Et c'est vraiment pour moi un tremplin vers l'action.
Je suis venue à Ticket for Change pour avoir une méthodologie, des outils pour développer un partenariat, trouver des financements et que mon projet puisse naître et se développer.
C'est important de faire Ticket for Change pour incarner le projet, pour commencer vraiment à en parler autour de nous, pour rencontrer les mentors qui nous ont challengés, pour discuter avec les coachs qui du coup, par les discussions, n'arrêtent pas de nous challenger, nous faire évoluer.
And by the way, we have a habit at our CEO studio. We ask people who come here to swear that they are going to tell us the truth and nothing but the truth. So I think you agree with this.
Of course.
No problem, yeah. If you want to tell us some anecdotes about the ticket tour, no problem, but have to be.
Okay.
Anyway, so you've built this wonderful organization, okay, from the ground up, and this is very interesting. But you started as students at ESCP, I think. And I realize you are, as we say, class of 2014. By the way, I'm class of 1988, so, you know, we're all alumni of the school in a way. And this is, how did you get your lucky break? Was it social venture competitions? How did you go from starting, you know, a student association or fraternity, and how to transforming it to something, you know, sustainable? That's a kind of dream. How did you work your magic, in fact, to be here tonight and have this kind of success?
We tried. I think we began by learning entrepreneurship in this school. Together we launched the first organization that was Star Trek, the association that organizes trekking every year. It still exists and it's growing. So we invented this organization and we learned how to become entrepreneurs. But we didn't know at this time that we were learning this. We had just this idea and we were enjoying starting a project. It was in our first year. And then, personally, I took 2 gap years. The first to have some classical, traditional, professional experience, and the second one to explore the world of social business and social innovation. With a friend called Jonas, we went 3 months in the Philippines, 3 months in India, and 3 months in Senegal. With a project we also developed called Destination Changemakers. And the goal was to work with social entrepreneurs, to be their right hand, to help them on their project, and to discover the reality of being a social entrepreneur, their joy and their difficulties. And the goal was to get some inspiration. And during this journey, this personal exploration, I discovered an event called the Jagriti Yatra. it means awakening journey in Indy. So every year, it's 450 young people who enter a train, and together we do a tour of India to meet some incredible role models, and they all have changed the lives of 1 million to 40 million people in education, women empowerment, health, etc. So it's really inspiring to see entrepreneurs who had some crazy ideas and who are changing really lives with their ideas. So it was for me an inspiration to start Ticket for Change. And I did it with Josephine. Maybe you can tell your story also.
So for me, my 3 lucky moments, how did you say?
Lucky star.
Lucky star, or déclic. The first one is it was during my gap year. I worked for Danone and Unilever in the marketing function, and I loved my team, my responsibilities, my job at that time. But I realized that it won't give me energy and inspiration and motivation to work on this topic for the rest of my life. So I needed to put my expertise, competencies, brain, hands, and so on to subjects that had more sense to me. So that was the first déclic. And the second déclic, I don't know if we can say this in English. The second calling was during travel in India too. I traveled for 3 months and a half in India, and I met around 40 social entrepreneurs. Some of them are part of the Jagri Theatra, and I discovered at that time that it was possible to put what I have learned in this school and during my professional experience to some more social or environmental topics. And I understood at that time that it was possible to mix business and social impact, and here I am.
Interesting, because the least we can say is that it was bold. It's a bold move. But on the other hand, was it really wise? I mean, it's, you bold move, but you took some risks to do that. Well, when you're very young, of course, the notion of risks is something which is more obvious. But well, the least we can say is that you question the status quo, and also, well, now it's okay to say it, but like 3 or 4 years ago, it was new to say that organizations that have a majority of givers versus takers, inspired and encouraged to act by leaders who help build an efficient spirit of teamwork. Now it's obvious. Wasn't so obvious that it didn't mean a competitive, sustainable competitive organization. So tell us a little more how, you make it work, sustainable, not so obvious. This is quite, in a way, my question is, what works, what doesn't work? I know the ticket tool works, but
I wanna fly and make it all right.
Les mentors m'ont aidé à me dire mais vois plus grand quoi, en fait, rêve plus grand, et ça correspond plus à la vision que j'ai des choses, donc je suis super contente.
Aujourd'hui, je me suis retrouvée face à un mentor qui était l'un de mes utilisateurs potentiels et qui m'a vraiment permis de confirmer que ma proposition de valeur marchait, que le produit marche, que ça intéresse. Il y a un très bon potentiel.
Ce qui m'a aidé aujourd'hui, c'est l'atelier auquel on a participé sur les questions de financement et sur les méthodologies pour faire un business model à 3 ans.
Le tour m'a apporté de mieux anticiper l'avenir, c'est-à-dire constituer une équipe. Aujourd'hui, je suis tout seul à porter la vie est belle et je me rends compte que pour pouvoir grandir et aller plus loin, il va falloir que je m'entoure de bonnes personnes.
According to your experience with AID, with what you're doing with this new social entrepreneurship, what works, what were your biggest mistakes, what doesn't work?
It's a lot of questions.
You choose.
Okay. I will choose the first idea for me or for us. For me, I think at the beginning, the thing that was the most difficult to take this risk was to, I don't know how to say this, to change the mindset of the people. We were in the school and it was not so common to take those professional choice. So it was hard to change the mindset of our friends, families, I don't know, colleagues, all the people around you that did not necessarily understood why you choose this kind of professional path rather than a more classic one. So at the beginning, this was the most difficult. And I will answer the question of the mistake just after Mathieu.
I think we have a lot of challenges, of course. The first one, maybe not the first one, but a very important one is the financing. How can we find the money to be full-time on this project and to grow every year? Since 2014, we have our budget doubles every year. So it's really a challenge for us because we are a social startup, but if you look at our status, we are an association or charity. So we started from a philanthropy model. We were and we are helped by foundations and donors. And we are developing step by step an hybrid model with a growing sustainable business model. So progressively we sell some trainings with an activity we call Corporate for Change. We sell trainings and leadership programs to big corporations, so that we can help them to transform them from the inside. So today it's 2/3 from grants and 1/3 from revenues. But our budget, annual budget, is today around 1.3 million euros. So we need to, and we grow every year by 30-40%. So this is a big challenge. The second one, I think, is measuring our impact. We don't have the classic KPIs. We are not looking at the end of the month or at the end of the year. We are not looking for our profit margin, sales, etc. We are looking at these figures, but this is not our goal. Our goal is, have we changed something, really changed something in our beneficiaries' lives? So our goal is to help people to find their way to have an impact in the world. And so it's really difficult to assess that because it's qualitative and also quantitative, and it's difficult to follow the people and to have their feedback and to have an academic and scientific measure of that. So this is a big challenge. Also, I think another big challenge is for the team. We are 20 full-time people today, and our goal is to attract the best and to retain the best. We have a giant issue to tackle. It's we call it the talent waste. People who have talents, who have energy, who have everything, many assets, and who do not know what to do with these talents, and we help them to find a true meaning and to impact positively the world with that. And so we have a big challenge to tackle, and so we need the best in our team, and we need to have good salaries in our teams and to retain the talents. So it's very difficult to do that in a small social startup.
Now that's interesting because many questions with many answers. So it's quite interactive. And Josephine, by the way, because it's mentoring and reverse mentoring, what you said at first is that you were you didn't want to follow a classic path, but now all those organizations, CAC 40 company, ask you to come and want you to, give them the entrepreneurship impulse. So it's kind of a reverse mentoring, don't you think? I mean, now they're looking at you, even the companies, very large corporations, so that you can, help them, be more maybe dynamic and or more adaptive, or more that you challenge them. How do you live this?
Yes, it's clearly a kind of reverse mentoring. We have the chance to work with big companies that are really engaged in really engaged on social and environmental issues. So we are trying to build with them the links between corporate world and startup world and charity world and so on. So this is very interesting, and we had the chance to work with very beautiful companies. But it's the beginning too. There are still a lot of big companies to convince, to put in action. So it's clearly one of the most interesting parts of our work, if we have to choose one, because we are creating the link between two worlds that could seem still separate one from each other. So this is very interesting, but there are still a lot of work to do.
And I think to add something, maybe today we have the chance to work with organizations like Google, Danone, Orange, etc. But for us, the goal is not to work with 10 or 20 big companies. Our dream, real dream, is to create a system change. So our goal is to be copied, to be adapted, etc. Our goal is to change the CAC 40.
Now we can perceive ambition.
So we are happy today with what we are doing, but it's just the beginning for us, in related to our dream.
What's very interesting is that in France, as you know, whether you're a charity or a business, it's changing, but it's like even in the entertainment world, whether you mean artistry or you're in the business of the entertainment industry. So this is changing, and you're helping it change, by the way. And this is very interesting because you seem to have, maybe not invented, but invented, yes, in some way, a new sustainable business model. Because tell us more about this, the quintessential about your activity. I mean, it's very interesting because you have a sustainable business model, and we speak about social entrepreneurship. So tell us more about this, because it has to be a break even, but at the same time you have to grow your business, but you can't speak about earnings growth. So how do you, and you said it's not measurable, maybe now, but 5 years from now, maybe it's going to be measurable with all this artificial intelligence thing and, exponential development, which are really happening fast. Oh, by the way, this morning we had at ESCP Europe the presence of the CEO of Facebook France and Southern Europe, Laurent Soli. And he said that the companies which are really the stronger, the leaders today, are the companies which move the faster, not the bigger, but the faster. So how do you react? I think you agree, no? I mean, because you move fast.
Maybe about our business model. We have two main activities. One is non-for-profit, and one is for-profit, but with a purpose. The first one is non-for-profit. We, in these different activities, we have some trainings, some MOOC, some mentorship, so different programs to help people know their talent, passion, and what they want to bring to the world, and also to we are a pre-incubator for social startups. In this activity, our business model is to be financed mainly by grants, and in the other activity, like I said, in Corporate for Change, we are selling this expertise, and so the goal is to be profitable in this organization, Corporate for Change, and the profits of Corporate for Change are going to Ticket for Change to help building a sustainable business model progressively. So at the end, we are a non-for-profit movement with the activities of Ticket for Change, and Corporate for Change is like a profitable activity, but all the profits are going to the movement.
It's interesting because there's a saying in entertainment saying that content is king and distribution is queen. So in your case, it would be Tickets for Change is king, but Corporate for Change is queen. Anyway, but in fact, who are your competitors? Because it's not. If we analyze a little bit the market forces, how would you situate the bargaining power of the suppliers, the bargaining power of the customers, the new entrants? Would there be a substitute for what you're doing? I would say even more. What makes you unique? I mean, would there be a hole in the world if you didn't exist? I mean. Some emotional.
Relating to the question of competitors, there are lots of organizations that are developing this kind of social business world more and more in the big corporations and for entrepreneurs. But they have a huge need to mentor and to develop this program. So it's a good thing that we are several to try to tackle this problem. But there are still lots to do. There are lots of things, for example, in Paris, but it's not so well developed in other parts of France, not in the big cities, but in other areas. So there are, I don't know how to say this in English, but place à prendre, I don't know, room to
Well, you know what, you should use our campuses in Europe to expand.
Yes. Good idea. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that we try to see the other actor as collaborators or partners. We are saying that we think that each actor has his own specificities, uniqueness, and we are developing our uniqueness, and we are trying to work with each different partners according to their expertise or specific networks and so on. So we are trying to see other actors as partners rather than competitors in order to develop our business model and our social impacts.
Yes, I think we're not thinking the same way as a classical for-profit organization. We don't see other organizations that are competitors or direct competitors because we are here to solve a big problem. So if we are many to solve this problem, it's a good news for us. So we are happy when people copy us, we are happy. So we are not in a copyright mindset, but in a copyleft mindset. We are encouraging others to get inspiration, took our tools and adapt the tools to their environment. It's important that the goal keeps the same, or the ambition. It's we are sharing our tools only if the people want to change positively the world, of course. And second, the quality must be the same, or quite the same. So we must help them to have the same quality. But we are happy that competitors appeared, I think.
It's interesting because it's kind of a creative way of thinking. Very creative, because it's like what you're telling here is that you must know when to control and when to let go, and this is not obvious to. But tell me, Josephine, is social work a lift for women? I mean, I don't mean in the way that it's a lift. It would be a lift for disaster victims or refugees, but it provides, I think, a lift for parity, because I see both of you. I mean, you're an example. You're a living proof of a parity winning team, and this is an important topic. So, does it go in this way that this social work, or how do you live it?
Good questions. At Ticket for Change, we try to show that yes, it's possible and good to show this kind of model, and it's important for us and for the team. So it's yes, very important for us. I think that in this social sector, lots of women are attracted by these topics. I don't know why, but maybe because they have sense of sensitivity, or I don't know, stronger to this topic. I don't know, but so there are lots of women that want to work in this social sector, social business sector. But I think that I'm not an expert, but maybe the difficulties are the same or almost the same in the sector compared to a more classic one. For example, there are lots of women that work in this social sector, but there are less women that lead social organizations. So I think it's better. I think that it's better than in the classic sector, because there are more, maybe, and it depends on the organization, but maybe the values are stronger, the I don't know, the respect maybe is stronger. I don't know. It depends on the company. There are big companies in which this question is well respected, I hope, and I know, but I think that the difficulties maybe are the same. I don't know.
When we try to recruit someone, we often receive 80% of women candidates, often, and sometimes it's hard to find men. In our team, it's 80% women, 20% men. So in our team, it's a very feminine organization, and I think it's the same in a lot of social startups. A lot. And I think, but the question is, and for our entrepreneurs, for the 50 entrepreneurs we are mentoring, 60% are women, and 40 are men also. So a great number of women are interested.
You know, what's interesting is that, well, it's very fashionable at the moment, of course, to speak about diversity and inclusion. But it's one thing to talk about it, it's one thing to implement it. And you seem to be able to have the right execution plan for this. And that's interesting. I know this recently we've heard about this CEOs giving pledge in a way to make more inclusion, more diversity. And so it's very trendy, but again, you seem to have the right execution plan for this to be a real substance of what you're developing. And I think it's very important. All the more that with our CEO Studio, by the way, the conference part, but it's also the learning module park. So we are trying to mix academic insights with field experience. And you are the field experience here. And maybe quite soon you're going to be there's going to be a social business case.
Je vais repartir du tour avec la conviction que quand on veut, on peut, mais que néanmoins, il faut véritablement quand même professionnaliser sa démarche. On ne peut pas avoir de grands projets s'ils n'ont pas une base économique et une base structurée forte.
Toujours été entrepreneur dans l'âme et on ne se rend pas compte en fait que l'accompagnement c'est quelque chose de primordial dans la vie d'un entrepreneur. Se retrouver entouré d'entrepreneurs qui eux aussi créent dans leur domaine, c'est ultra important, ça noue des liens, ça nous met dans une dynamique de travail, de vouloir aller plus loin et puis en même temps regarder un peu, se challenger, regarder l'état d'avancement des autres projets, ça nous donne envie d'aller plus loin en fait.
So that our students can, react to your story. That's interesting, and that's also why in this CEO Studio program, which is, as you know, something which is collaborative between alumni of the school. It's a large community and teachers, and it's important because we're going towards the ESCP Europe, as you might know, is going towards what we call autonomy. And this is part of the plan, in fact, and and this is why tonight we're lucky to have the presence of Professor Sylvain Bureau, who is scientific director of the entrepreneurship share, and in the second part of this CEO Studio, he's going to ask you some questions also, and this is one of the essence of the CEO Studio. But just before. Ceding the floor to Sylvain Bureau, I'm going to see if there are some questions in the assembly, because it's interactive, and this is an important part. So.
Hello. For someone who wants to have a social impact in their professional life, would you advise to go to a big company like Dardaillon, for instance, which say to be at the edge of social engagement, or to join a small startup or a social startup? Because we see a lot of communications from Dardaillon, from Schneider Electric, from big corporations, but I don't know who to trust and if I can have a social impact inside a big corporation.
For me, it was very useful and interesting to work for big companies, because I learned a lot of things. But I realized, but it's completely personal, that it was not in this place that I will have the bigger impact. I don't know how to explain this, but I felt like some impatience. I don't know how to say impatience. Impatience to do something bigger, faster, to create something from scratch, to address problems that I didn't met in big companies. So for me it was a very, very interesting and important experience, because it's also an opportunity to work with this company now. For example, I understood more how they work, what is important inside these big companies and so on. So for me, during my gap year, it was very important, but I felt that after this gap year and after the school, this was not my place. Maybe it will be my place tomorrow or in few years, I don't know. But I think that the most important is to choose what you prefer. There is no one way.
And it is important because in this program we want you to anticipate, to dare to ask yourself the right questions. If France, if our country is to become a startup nation, if it's going to be a startup Europe, but I mean, this is the right question to ask ourselves and to debate, is how do you dare to really go and make the bold move and jump and just try to make it sustainable. So this is important. Before I cede the floor to Professor Sylvain Bureau, do you have another question? Oh, I see.
Hello. I've read that you were a fellow of the NGO Ashoka, and if it is true, could you tell us more about this partnership? And what is an achievement or the beginning of something bigger for you and for your company?
Yes, it's true. Ashoka is the biggest organization that supports social entrepreneurs around the world. So Ashoka selects social entrepreneurs in many countries, and we have many opportunities thanks to Ashoka. For example, very concretely, it helps us to pay my salary during 3 years. So they invest in me, and it helps all the team. And so it's a sponsorship. Then there is a lot of mentorship. We have 3 ex-CEOs or big manager in big corporation that help us every month. We have meetings together, and they help us to structure our organization and help us to grow. So it's very, very insightful for us. Then this is a network, very inspiring network of social entrepreneurs, so we can share many things together, and we can build some projects together. It's also an opportunity to have some pro bono expertise from big corporations. For example, if we have a need in terms of, I don't know, a benchmark, I ask Ashoka, and Ashoka then will ask McKinsey, Accenture. They have many partners to help us for free. For our legal problem, we have Latam and Watkins who help us for free. So it's amazing for this. And so the global vision is to 2 things: to help me in my social entrepreneur's journey, to follow my mission and to have more impact, and also, and this is my goal, to help Ticket for Change to grow, to help the teams to grow, so we can be system changing. Our goal is not to be the biggest possible organization, but to have a big impact, not a big, but a system change impact. This is really the ambition. So not to be 2,000 people in Ticket for Change, but more influence other to be in the same dynamic.
Thank you.
Yeah, and no, this is very, again, very interesting because this week there's a new book which is released. It's by a person called Leila Jana, and Give Work, and you seem to be on the same wavelength. I saw them a few months ago in Paris, coming here to explain this with Loïc Lemeur, also a very known entrepreneur on the internet. And it's very interesting because this notion of giving work is something, could be biblical, you know, like you don't only give somebody to eat, but you teach him how to fish. This is a new execution of this plan. And it's interesting because, so you seem to be on the same wavelength, like giving work is something that is kind of a solution to for education of poverty. Sorry to trying to put it, you know, a short version, you know, but it seems to be following the question what you kind of mean.
Yeah, the goal is to. We have seen the impact of traditional aid system and NGO system, and I've seen it. I have many experience in. I think classic NGOs are doing very good work and absolutely essential, but I have also seen the limit because it needs some donors every year, and with the reduction of public subsidies, it's not sustainable in a way. So we need to develop some sustainable business model to fight poverty, fight the climate change, etc. And also we are in a philosophy of empowerment to help the people find solutions to their own problem. And so our goal is not to be, it's just to be a starter in their own journey, and then they will have the good mindset, the good tools, and they will succeed on their way. We are not following them all their life. It's not our goal to be with them. It's more to empower them, and they will create jobs. They will have a big impact, and we will be maybe the first step. We will help at the first step, but we are confident that they will do tremendous, amazing things.
And you know what, this evolution is amazing because a few years ago, it was in '99, I released a book called Le Capital du Cœur. I mean, this was more about a kind of, you know, a new alliance at the time between creators, entrepreneurs, and people who suffered from being, you know, not integrated into society. It was a bit too early, but this is like now what you're doing. But at the time, I was a little bit perceived as a hustler, you know, like pushing it to the limit, like, you know, and trying to, you know, because you have to overcome your failures, and then it's a win after the 10th failure. And now it seems that it's more, you've found, not to say the right formula, but at last a formula which can be sustainable. I see there's another question there. Before we cede the floor to Sylvain Bureau, Scientific Director of Entrepreneurship Share. And this is important because this is something new at ESCP Europe. We're going to have our own entrepreneurship department. And this is something which we've waited for a long time.
I get a question about the impact, because you were saying that measuring your impact is quite important at the moment, and I think you have a study at the moment about your impact. So do you have a few first insights on which impact you want to have in the next 5 years? Is it like being a role model for other organizations, so the other not competitors but partners that exist also, and make your tool scalable? Or is it like to make the ticket tour for 500 people, or have, I don't know, 10 tours a year? Or is it about having more missions within big organizations, because most of the people work in organizations and are not entrepreneurs? So like, do you have a first few insights on the impacts you want to have?
Maybe I can first try to answer to the impact we already have, because we have some figures, and I let you explain maybe the vision and the next steps. So we have conducted a social impact measurement with an organization called Improve. So they help us to follow 500 people from 2014 to today, and they have participated to some awareness events like conferences, or our MOOC, or our entrepreneurship program, which lasts 6 months. And the figure we have for these people is that 75% of these people have taken action after after one or many Ticket for Change program. What does it mean? Some have become social entrepreneurs, so they launched a project to have a social or environmental impact through a sustainable business model. Some have become social entrepreneurs, so they have the same vision, but they work as employees in an existing organization. And some are what we call contributors. They are employees, and they became employees in a social innovation organization. So they join an existing organization. And also some are volunteers in social impact organization. And finally, some are change makers in their personal life. They sort out their waste, etc. So our goal is to raise a movement of entrepreneurs, intrapreneurs, and contributors, because our vision is to focus on how you can positively impact the world through your job. It's our first mission, but we are also very happy when they are change makers in their personal life. But we are focusing on this in our mission.
So, for the next 3, 5, 10 years, our mission is to develop programs for those different types of contributors. Today it's well developed for entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs. We have a lot of work to do, but we have programs for entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, and we have to develop more and more these existing programs and the contributors one. We define our expertise or job as first creating the pedagogy, to experimenting them through, for example, the Parcours Entrepreneur or the Tour de France or other programs. So creation of pedagogy, experimentation, diffusion, and we have to work on the diffusion of their pedagogy. That was what Mathieu just said, through online programs or projects, through more
scalable
tools, yes. Thank you. And then we have to train the next trainers or organization that will diffuse those tools and so on. So our goal is not to create, 10 Tour de France or Parcours Entrepreneur a year in 5 years, but to experiment just 1 or 2, and to train, 10 organizations that could themselves organize 10 Parcours Entrepreneur in their regions, countries, cities, or I don't know. So create the pedagogies, create the scalable tools, and train the trainers.
Great. Now, Sylvain, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I had the great pleasure to supervise the master research memoir of Josephine, and I had a lot of internal talks. So first of all, I would like to congratulate you for all the achievements. And I think you deserve a big applause from the audience because it seems easy, you know, when you talk about it, but it's not actually. I'm going to have four main questions or topics. So first one is about ESCP. Second is about change, because you talk about a lot about change, but what do you mean by that, by the way? Then we're going to talk about scale, because you have a big growth, so how does it work? And eventually, what are the next steps for you in terms of products and solutions? So maybe, because we have, I think, some students from ESCP Europe in the room and maybe watching you, how could you, as a student, leverage ESCP Europe as a school, maybe the chair of entrepreneurship, I don't know, when you want to become an entrepreneur, or when you don't know about that, but you have maybe some insights. So do you have any tips about how it works at ESCP to help them do that?
I think you can have a great use of your time at ESCP by doing bold choices. What I mean by that is that you can learn many things in your course, okay? But I think the most interesting part is in your professional experience. So choose them, really choose where you will do your internship, etc., your gap years, etc. And my recommendation for the previous question should be to try both environments. In the startup and in the big corporation, because try different environments and test, and you will see afterwards what gives you the most energy. So the professional experiences are very important, and you can make some choices about that. There is you have a full range of opportunities. There is not only the corporations that are here at the Forum des Entreprises. You can go everywhere. You have a lot of opportunities, really. And the third part, and I think this is the most interesting part, is to build your own curriculum. And I had the chance to do that with my friend Jonas, and Josephine has done the same. It's to benefit from the free time you have here. So take some risk, try some things in the associations, student association, or build your own. Try a project, a startup. Try many things. You have a lot of time, free time, and you can really enjoy creating things and develop an expertise in a passion. So use your time to explore. I think the most interesting thing ESCP Europe offers is that you have all this range of opportunities, and you can use this time to find what we call our ikigai at Ticket for Change. Is from a Japanese inspiration. The ikigai is the center of four things. What you love. So you have the opportunity to find what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and finally, for what you can be paid. And try many things to find the place at the center. And ikigai means raison d'être. So it's really your why. And when you have found this, you know that you are at the right place. So use your ESCP time to find this. It should be my advice.
And just to add one thing is that the projects are the best way to learn things. Courses are very interesting, but they are even more interesting if you can just be in action to experiment. I don't know what is management, what is HR, what is accounting, and so on. And in this kind of, for example, for us it was the association Star Trek. It was the best way to discover if we love entrepreneurship or not. I didn't realize that was a kind of entrepreneurial project at that time, but it was this. And even if I didn't put the word of, oh, I will become an entrepreneur at the end of the school, it was the best way to discover that, in fact, I love creating project, managing a team, I don't know, creating something from scratch with other people. So this free time you have is the best way to learn in action what you love and what you are good at.
Okay, can you tell us a bit about the Blue Factory that you experienced yourself, maybe?
Yes, we had the chance to be incubated, mentor, at the Blue Factory during the first year of Ticket for Change. So we benefited from the place, from the mentorship of the team, from the experience of other startups which was with us at that time. Welcome to the Jungle, for example. So we had the chance to be here during the first year, probably one of the most difficult. So yes, we had the chance to be here.
Okay, so maybe if we want to go to the second question, I'm right now working a lot on political ideology and how it could influence entrepreneurial projects. And I'm also involved in a project with a colleague from Stanford University. So they diffused a survey to alumni who are entrepreneurs. And one of the questions is their motivations, and one of the possible answers is to change the world. So this seems to be like a more and more useful motivation, but and you claim that a lot as well. So maybe two questions. What do you mean by changing the world? I mean, is it good per se? You seem to say that you want to have a systematic change. You never seem to explicit what you mean by that. So, because if I'm a bit extreme, Gandhi wanted to change the world, but Hitler wanted to change the world. So, how do you position yourself politically about that?
Yes, Trump wants to change the world also. So this is a very important question, in fact, and we try to define it by saying changing the world is positively contributing to the world, but everyone has its definition. Trump has his definition on it, and some people have another. So I think we are visioning a world where a more sustainable world, a more inclusive, a more just, a more a fairer world, so that no one is left behind. Everyone has the opportunity to get a chance to have a right to education, health, mobility, etc. And a world, in the ideal world, there is no poverty and there is no climate change. So for us, changing the world is having a positive contribution to social, societal, environmental problems. It can be with a big impact or with a small impact. Every contribution is crucial. And that's why we are not only developing programs for entrepreneurs, because there is a myth about this also. Entrepreneurs are not the only ones who can change the world, of course. And if they don't have a team, they can't do anything. We can't be there if we have not a team. So every contribution, even a volunteering act, is a way to change the world. But in our definition, we think a major leverage to change the world should be by your work. Because we all spend 80,000 hours in our life to work, and if we spend this time doing some positive things on the world, I think we can change the world.
Anything you want to add, Josephine? No? Okay. Could you give an illustration of that? So projects that you leverage and that are changing right now some aspects, for instance, in France or...
For example, we mentored a project called Yuka, which is an application that scan your food product in the supermarket. So you can download the application, scan your product, and the application says if the product is good or not for your health. So for the moment, it only measures the impact of this product on your health. So the impact of this application is to help you to choose the best product for your health and so on. It has been downloaded by more than 200,000 people in France since several months. We have, for example, a project called Filet, which is also an online application that allows anybody who is living in a medical desert in France to access to a doctor in less than 5 minutes. We have, for example, a project called Mamie Régal, which help older people that love to cook together and to sell these cooking products to salaries, for example, who don't have the time to cook at work.
Good enough.
So it's some you can we mentor more than 140 projects since 3 years and a half, so you can see and discover all these projects on the website.
Okay, thank you. So we collaborate here a lot with EY, with the Share Entrepreneurship, and also we have a new collaboration with the Association for SMEs in France. And you know, startups at some point become some SMEs. We also collaborate with Dardaillon, which is trying to attract talents in startups and companies will grow. So can you tell us about your case and how do you develop your organization? So in terms of how do you attract talents, how do you select the talents, how do you find partners which are happy to support you? Is it easy to collaborate with a small company like Google, for instance? So how do you do all these things?
Many questions. I think there are different phases in a project. So first we started very quickly in 2014 and 2015. We started with a first ticket tour, then we built our MOOC, and at this time we are growing very quickly. And in a few months, in 1 year and a half, we reached 20,000 people by our MOOC. So we were growing very quickly, and we were, I think, 12 people, 10 to 12 people in the team. And at this time, we had a lot of opportunity to grow in very different projects. And at this time, we decided to slow down and to build a stronger organization. So the last 2 years, we have developed a better organization, always with our entrepreneurial mindset, but we are more structured with some small processes because we need some sometimes, and so we are structuring all the financing part, the social measurement, the management, the recruitment, the HR part, the admin part, the juridical things, etc., etc. Because it was needed, And for me, it was the wise part of the project, and it was like building the foundations. And so also we had a lot of discussions about our DNA and what was the why of the project, what are our values, etc. And so we are finishing this part, and now we are at the beginning of our scale-up process and our goal. Now we are more structured, we are 20 people, and we have a clear ambition, a clear vision. So we are now working on our strategy to scale up. It's the third phase.
Okay, thank you. Maybe just a word about the partnerships with large corporations. So maybe you have heard about the movement David avec Goliath, launched by Raise Foundation. They're going to have their event, I think, on the 15th of November. So it's how to work better, small and large corporations. So do you have any insights on that? How do you work with Google, for instance, in France, or any other cases?
For the case of Google, for example, so we won a prize that is called the Google Impact Challenge in 2015, and so we were selected among hundreds of NGOs in France, and we had the chance to be selected to use this prize to scale to develop our social impact using online technologies. So we just launched, for example, a new product with Google. The first product of this collaboration is called Vécu. It's an online platform that will share the best advices and learnings from the best social entrepreneurs. So there are very concrete advice and learnings to other entrepreneurs. So if you are interested, you can watch this page on our website or on our Facebook page. So this is the first, I don't know how to say this, the first step of our collaboration with them, because as we just say, the scalability of our Ticket for Change is key in the next few years. So we will develop more product with the help of Google, and the link with them is financial support, but it's also an exchange of expertise, of vision, of networks, of I don't know, lots of other things that could really leverage the impact that we could have. So for us, it's very important in our scale up to create partnership with organizations that are different from us, so that we can have the better from both organizations.
Another thing we are doing with a big organization is that we are developing some labs about different sectors. For example, with Schneider Electric, we are working on the energy lab, with Renault on the mobility lab, etc. Carrefour, the food and solidarity lab. And the goal is to help social entrepreneurs emerge in this different sector, and we benefit from the help of many employees from these organizations. So it's a win-win-win situation. It helps us to have more impact, it helps the entrepreneurs, it helps the organization because the employees are more engaged.
Maybe the question also is how do you don't lose too much time with them? How do you get paid on time? How do you control the process? Because stories are not always, fantastic with large corporations. So how do you do
I think, yes, maybe more insight. It was the question at the beginning. Sorry. The key is to find a common language and a common vision on because there is there are two parts, and we have our own vision and own interest, and they have their own interest, and we must find a common vision. So it can take a lot of time, and even if we have found something great, the key is to know that it will last 6 months minimum. It can last until 1 year or 2 years to see the project emerge, because in a startup you want to go fast, and you have some very short decision cycles, and in a big organization this is normal, but you have 10 people who have a say on this program, and you have to meet them all because they all need to be convinced. So you need to be very resilient and to anticipate that if you want to build a big partnership with this organization, you can begin today if you want to have this partnership in 1 year or 1 year and a half. And that's normal, but you have to know that.
Just to, before we have some more questions from you, something really strikes me when we hear you, is that you seem to be reversing the digital divide. I mean, you know, instead of being an exclusion, it's an inclusion. It's very inclusive. And that's kind of amazing. And that might be the social impact, the new generation. That might be your biggest, leap forward. This is kind of amazing. This morning at ESCP Europe, we had a special event with the chair of Edouard Leclerc, distributor, and with about these themes. And there was also Professor Stone, who wrote a book about the keys to the future. And that was quite amazing, because he showed us a lot of things. And among the things, the possibility now to print a house. I hadn't seen this in my life, but I mean, in China, they're printing, 2-level houses. And so for many things, they're printing metal, they're printing, so it's local, but it's international. And now when you have, you don't even need to ship the product. But this is, those exponential technologies are amazing, but this creates a digital divide between some people don't really feel that they are part of this world, like the driver in the driverless car. There's a new book about this. So you want to be part of it, but you're just kind of excluded if you don't understand it. But you seem to bridge this gap, and I think that's really, really more than interesting. It's like very, very, uniting, in fact. Not to say that we're living in a brave new world, but you're going, I want you to react to this, because you know what I'm talking about, but at the same time, you're kind of producing, concocting the remedy, in a way.
Yes,
we hope so.
Our goal is to produce some excellent content, and to offer it at the lowest possible cost when it comes to individuals, because we want it to be very inclusive. You're right, and so digital is a powerful, very powerful tool for us, because it costs the investment cost, and then you can spread it to 1 million people, and you have no more cost. Of course, it's not as easy as this, but you can make a big impact. So when we do the entrepreneurship program, people are paying, but it's a very small amount. It's more like a symbol. So we always try to have the lowest possible cost, because we are. It's the big player that pays. It's the foundations, it's the big corporations through the revenues, because we are in égalité des chances in
all right.
Yes. So our goal is to really to make it affordable and for everyone, really, for everyone in France, and tomorrow abroad.
That's what we did with the MOOC, for example, that was created after the first Tour de France, especially thanks to the learnings we had from the memoir. And this tool, for example, is created one time. We worked on this creation in 2015, and then it's I don't know how to say, but it works alone. There is nobody in the team full time on the MOOC, and still we have more than 65,000 people that are following the MOOC around the world, and it's free. So, for example, this is an example of yes, trying to make the best product affordable to everyone.
But then the goal is to target and to reach the people who need it. It's not because it's free, then it was the object of the memoir, but it's not because it's free that people who need this free program follow the program. So it's our challenge, and we need some partnerships with organizations that work with underprivileged people, etc.
And the challenge is to measure the impact of this.
And by the way, you seem to have made a good work together with this thesis and on the work. And by the way, I think Sylvain, I think today or yesterday, went through this. We call it, after the PhD, habilité à diriger les recherches. You see it in English. It's a very important step. And so, teacher and pupil, and we mix some. But it would be amazing if a lot of European youth, could have this kind of inner call and go, or in what you're doing to develop and then inventing a new social impact, because that's what we need to create more jobs. I mean, to develop Europe and for Europe to become something new. You know that our French president had this, long speech in the Sorbonne, and and by the way, we're going toward an alliance with Sorbonne called Sorbonne Alliance, ESCP Europe, Paris 1, Paris 2 with universities. So we're very, listening to this, and I think it was a great idea to speak in front of so many youth. If we could use, this Europe, ESCP Europe, we own 5 or 6 campuses, maybe 7 in Europe. Now it could be a great springboard to develop all this, and Professor Bureau is going to do a great job, leveraging it with now a department. It's funny to speak about department of entrepreneurship, but it shows that it's gaining ground, competing with the other majors, of course, and it's kind of I would call it the rise of a new kind of creative class, in a way. It's a rising tide, and it's very I have. I don't know if there are some other questions in the room, or okay. So I'll give you the microphone.
It kind of starts maybe with a comment, but I think you're kind of starting to change the system from within the system and with the rule of the system. And I'm curious to know what mechanism or what discussion you have internally to make sure that by doing that, the system is not changing you, and being through the financing that you're getting, through the tax plays that you guys are doing, that the people that are financing, for example, are doing, and basically all of that. Through times, it will probably cripple down within your DNA. So just curious of what's your mechanism around it.
We are always questioning what we are doing, and questioning if our actions are aligned with our values and the first intuition, the first starting point, the first why. So we are always we are on a journey, and we are making some choices, and maybe we will regret some and maybe not. So we are trying. We have the chance to be mentored by many people. We have a strategic committee who help us to take the right decision. So we are helped by senior and experimented people who help us also. And we try and learn and try to learn. We discuss a lot internally, and we are helped by senior people, I think.
And we have the vision that the person we have in front of us, in terms of partners, for example, are not the organization. And we are convinced that the people with who we are working are highly motivated to change things within the organization. And if we work with one person, that we work with one another, this can be a way also to change the organization. So for some companies or some kind of support, for example, we have lots of discussions. Is it a good or bad things? Do we have to be supported by this company or this one? But for the moment, we never have some problems with some kind of support, and we are always in front of people that really want to change the organization, and this has a huge impact within the company. So yes,
for us, yes, it's a way to spread the virus, and but it's a bet. We will see if it has an impact, or it will have an impact. Is it positive or negative? We'll see.
And it's a choice. All the organizations in this sector are not always agree with this strategy, but we are convinced that the world will change with the help and the contribution of big companies. So we work with them and not against them.
But it's a good virus, by the way, to catch.
Yes.
Yes, and maybe to finish, sorry, and our goal is to make social entrepreneurship, social innovation, all this concept mainstream. So we need to work with mainstream organizations that really, in our philosophy, it's really... so we have to find the good players at doing that, but we need to... not to be a small, perfect paradise with 5% of the people.
There's different questions there. Well, I'll come.
So I want to talk about negotiation skills with entrepreneurship. I think is very important. So what was the biggest problem negotiating, I don't know, maybe a partnership, an alliance, or the biggest achievement in negotiation with the negotiation skills, sorry?
Personally, one real difficulty or one learning I had is when you want to build a partnership. I will take the example of our first year. We were doing a lot of storytelling, explaining why it was important for us, this program, this project, and at the end it was difficult. We were looking for a lot of money. And as I said, the decision making in big organizations is a long process. So it was 4 months before the first ticket tour, and we needed hundreds of thousands of euros. And I started not complaining, but supplier. I don't know how to say, but begging, thank you, begging the partners. Oh, please, it would be so bad if the project never starts. It's a lot of work. We are doing amazing things, but sorry, please help us. And it was absolutely not working, absolutely not, because you have to create a desire. You have to create a win-win situation. Maybe someone will help you because you bet one time, but it is not sustainable. So you have to find the right spot to find a powerful partnership So we worked more. We were resilient. And at one time we had a tipping point because we convinced one, and then another, and these two partners were friends with the third one. So three were convinced, and then they are convinced, so we can go also. They were all waiting for a red light. So a green light. So they were all together hesitating, and also when you create this tipping point is easier for you. So it's easier for us to negotiate today, of course, because we have a track record with us and with our partners.
And for me, the most difficult thing is to trust that yes, you have some expertise and vision to sell or to bring to this companies or organization, even if you are young, even if it's the beginning, even if you are doing something not so mainstream at that time, even if it's the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, you have to you can bring something new and important for the partner you have in front of you. And this for me, it was maybe one of the most difficult thing to understand and to valorize, valorize. Yeah.
And to find this value added, you have to listen a lot. So I think one skill also is to make the appointments and listen what the other person sees in your project, what should be his or her expectations. The thing is, you don't know what is your value for this organization. So they have to tell you what is your value, and to do that, you have to make a lot of appointments and to listen, and to try different options. And today, I think we know we have 4 value added for this organization, etc. But at the beginning, you don't know anything. So you have to listen a lot.
Yeah, so maybe the thing that is difficult here is that you have to find the right balance between listening the person you have in front of you and being convinced by your dream, your vision, and you have to be between those two things, and this could be difficult.
So first of all, I would like to congratulate you for the great initiative you guys are doing. And so I had 2 questions. I think the first question is almost answered by the question he had asked, because I wanted to ask on the key performance indicators that a big corporation has when they're getting involved, as in contributing to you in terms of finance or ideas. So I think you rightly said that each corporation has their value proposition, and according to that, their needs you answer. The second question I wanted to ask is when the startups who are trying to get involved with you, but they would have a lot of ideas and a lot of new concepts, which would need some patencies and some confidentialities. So how do you or did you face that issue where you need to handle that patency, secrecy, or confidentiality of new startups, because they're sharing a lot of things with you, and they're hoping that you would let them grow, and
We usually say to our mentees that even if in some case there are some confidential issues, but it's rare, we always say that the more often you will speak about your idea, the more opportunities you will get, because it's a little bit of a cliché, but it's true. the more you will talk about your idea, the more people will give you some insights, some contacts, some other opportunities, and the more you will be already in action. So at the end, it's not a question about do I have to launch this idea or this idea, I don't know. You didn't even realize that you are already working on your idea maybe. So we didn't meet a lot of confidential issues with our projects. And yes, we are saying that the more often you talk about your idea, the more opportunities you will get.
Yeah, one specificity probably of our approach is that we are mentoring and accompanying people and not projects. So people are more confident when they come to us because we are helping them on their personal journey or professional journey to have an impact. But we are not a classic incubator betting on one project and then having a lot of interest in this project. If people change their project, it's okay. If the project fails, it's okay. The more important is the person behind the talent, and so people are probably more confident, and we didn't have any confidential issues so far. We'll see.
Thank you. Hi. Well, this is like, I think, the third time that I see you, Mathieu, and Josephine. So it's always a pleasure to see you guys because, well, you're inspiring and you produce like some good energy. My question is, and it's a little bit of introduction actually. Since 2009, I co-founded an NGO in Czech Republic with a friend of mine. We had some issues, like somebody was saying over there about funding, because actually my partner didn't want to get some funding from big corporations because, like, you know, there was some medical issues and so on. To make the story short, in 2014, we actually like split up. I opened my own organization, this time in Mexico. Now, the funding, it was another issue because in Mexico, actually, you need to have 2 years at least to receive some funding from the government. So that made us like a little bit impossible to actually, you know, start working, hiring people, and so on. Then eventually, well, I married a French woman, and that's why I'm here, actually. So eventually, we decided to come back here to Europe, to France, well, to Paris, because we thought it was going to be maybe easier than in Mexico. Unfortunately, it's not. So so that's why I say also that every time I see you, you know, you raise my hopes up, actually, you know. So everybody knows, I hope, that in Mexico had like a huge earthquake a few weeks ago. And since that moment on, actually, I started to feel like a little bit terrible, actually, you know, because, you know, I saw, fortunately, my friends and family, all of them are fine, you know, they are not like, I mean, they're not dead, they're still alive. But I saw a lot of people in the streets like suffering as I've never seen people suffering in my life, right? So I said like, well, you know, I'm here struggling, trying to find a job in France or in Paris, you know, living the good life, drinking wine, having good cheese, and, you know. But in the meantime, people in my country is just suffering, and I'm not using my skills, I'm not using my talent for the greater good. So my question will be, I have different ideas that I would like to launch in Mexico, like social businesses. And if I wanted to actually do it, do I need to wait until the next tour to get some mentorship from you? Or is there another way that I can do it? And also, if I wanted to actually replicate Ticket for Change in Mexico, would you help me do it? Just you know, to recap again, the organizations I founded before, it was also more or less about the same thing. So it was basically to provide tools and knowledge to people to change the world, because I think, well, that's the only way we can actually arrive. And the last organization that we made is called Submundus, actually, which in Latin means I am the world. And what we wanted to show people is that the world we live in is actually a reflection of ourselves. So we wanted to actually provide this information, tools, and knowledge to people so they can start change themselves first, and then change the world. So that'll be my 2 questions. Thank you.
So first you can follow our MOOC. Then you can follow our Vécu new program. This is for the online part. And then for the offline part, there will be another Parcours Entrepreneur in 2080, but the registration will begin in, I don't know, January or beginning of the next year. So for the moment, yes, we have tools online, and they are created just for this reason, so that everybody everywhere in the world could benefit from these tools. Yes, and we will launch next year more online tools to mentor you in your project.
So we have a human factor, and we have I mean, I would say high tech, high touch. And you even have a franchise here. It's interesting, the notion of franchise with the social impact. And also, if we want to become also here a startup nation, we all want to be startup nation. I see Professor Daniel Rouache, who's just joined us. And I mean, he is also a professor at Technion University at the heart of startup nation in Tel Aviv. So he could be a witness to this. And so it's very, what strikes me also is that you have kind of great new ship. You're both captain of a great new ship. I would call it an arch, maybe. You know, it's like you have dreams, but you have the means, you know, to deliver at the same time. And it's very important. You know, your strategy is all about execution, so that's what you're doing. And but my question would be, now, to be a real startup nation, then after the startup is started, and after you've really made a beautiful, path for those 3 years, now is your challenge will be to be able to, pursue this venture from year 3 to year 8. So what could we wish you? I mean, because what would be your dream in the next 5 to 10 years? Because it's important. It's like,
and maybe to complement the question, how can we help? What are you looking for? Do you need anything? So some people may be willing to help you go more.
So in the next years, our challenges and goals are really sustainability of our business model. This is the first thing, because without a sustainable business model, we want to have a sustainable social impact. So we need some recurrent revenues. We need a strong business model. That's the first thing. So if we can make some common partnership about this, we are happy. And the second thing is to be to develop new scalable programs and scalable tools. I think this is the second leverage, and the third is to be copied everywhere. It's not to be a bottleneck. So it's empower other people to get the inspiration, get the tool, and do it on their own way to maximize our impact. I think in the next year it will be our challenge, and to find the right model to do that. It can be controlled. We cannot control everything, and probably it cannot be totally open source for the quality of the production. So we have to find the right balance between control and absolutely open source. So I think it's a big challenge also. And how can you help? You can. The first thing is you can question yourself on how you can use your talent and passion to possibly impact the world through your job. Probably you are already doing it. In this case, that's amazing. You can be a pioneer. You can be. We can interview you to inspire other people. In the other case, if you have this desire to do something, maybe we can provide the tools and the community to help. So you are more than welcome in this adventure. We are also looking for talents in our teams, not currently at the moment, but so we are happy to exchange also.
Well, Mathieu and Josephine, you know you're at home on all of our campuses. You know, if we could really help you even develop even more those. I mean, what you're doing, which is great. I mean, that's what we need. Job creation, really. I mean, job creation in Europe. That's what we need at the moment. And so this is a great way to to do it in a sharing. Call it the sharing economy. You know. Thank you very much. I think we can applaud Mathieu and Josephine. Thank you very much. Really.